Welcome back to the AI Breakdown Brief, all the AI headline news you need in around 5 minutes. Well, friends, we are officially in the fall. We are officially in the season of product announcements. In fact, just before I was recording this, I started to see things coming out of the Microsoft event in New York. Apparently, a wider Copilot assistant is coming to Windows. Obviously, we will cover that in full on tomorrow's episode. But for now, we have to catch up with what happened over the last 24 hours. And we kick off with an announcement around Amazon and its Alexa assistant. The TLDR is that after many years of being a just medium or low-powered assistant, Alexa is now getting a generative AI makeover and will be powered by its own Alexa large language model. Now, this is something that Amazon has talked about before and was sort of one of the most obvious plays for them, but that does not change how significant a shift it might be. At their fall hardware event on Wednesday, Amazon started to premiere the new Alexa. Dave Limp, Amazon's SVP of Devices and Services, said, Alexa LLM is a true generalizable large language model that's very optimized for the Alexa use case. It's not what you find with a Bard or ChatGPT or any of those things. Now, in terms of what this will change, the biggest piece of it is that it will be much more conversational. In the same way tools like ChatGPT allow you to interact with computers through a natural language interface, the new Alexa powered by Alexa LLM will also give people the ability to speak more normally rather than have to adopt some specific nomenclature. Effectively, you won't have to do the Alexa version of prompt engineering anymore. Limp said that they funneled more than 200 smart home APIs into their LLM, which will give the new Alexa much greater capacity to actually interact with your smart home in meaningful ways. An example, The Verge writes, this contextual understanding will extend beyond knowing what other connected devices you might want to control to things like inferring when something's changed in your home. Explains Limp, if you add a new device to your home, you can say, Alexa, turn on the new light, and it will know what the new light is. It will disambiguate things, so if you put in a new smart plug or light, it will be easier to control. Another update is that Alexa will be able to respond to multiple requests at once. So for example, turn on the sprinklers and open my garage door and turn off the outside lights. That's something that Alexa can now figure out. That capacity extends to using natural language to create a routine without having to manually program the Alexa app. The example that Limp uses is a morning routine for his kid, saying, Alexa, every morning at 8 a.m., turn up the light, play wake-up music for my kid in his bedroom, and start the coffee maker. Now, a few things about the implementation. One, obviously there is more room for this to go wrong than the limited, more controllable capacities of Alexa in the past. Obviously, with any LLM, there is a chance of hallucinations, and that could be particularly problematic in this type of context. What that means practically is that the new Alexa will be rolled out only in the US at first, and only through a preview mode, which is effectively a large public beta. The second relevant note is that this souped-up version of Alexa may not be free in the future. Limp said, quote, the idea of a superhuman assistant that can supercharge your smart home and more work complex tasks on your behalf could provide enough utility that we will end up charging something for it down the road. To me, that sounds like they are definitely going to charge something for it down the road, and they are just preparing people to get used to that reality now. Anyways, like I said at the top, this is in some ways one of the more predictable updates that we were going to get from generative AI and the rise of LLMs. The other one that people are waiting for being a Siri upgrade, but that doesn't make it any less significant for the people who will use it. Next up, we are getting a number of different announcements in and around the Microsoft ecosystem. They're having a big event in New York. Like I said, there is information and news pouring out of that right now. But what got announced yesterday was from one of Microsoft's subsidiaries, GitHub. That announcement was that GitHub's Copilot Chat, which is the chatbot assistant that lives in GitHub's developer environment, has now moved out of enterprise and business usage and is available for individuals who have GitHub Copilot subscriptions. Again, in many ways, this is an expected product update. We are, as we will discuss even more tomorrow, heading to a world in which there is going to be an AI-powered chatbot in every application you use, until such time as it either totally revolutionizes the interface of how we interact with computers, or it's determined that people actually don't like that interface. But for now, you can expect this type of experience to come to basically everything. Even if it doesn't work everywhere else, it seems like it's likely to be a pretty big hit when it comes to coding, and given how significant the AI assistant for coding use case is, I'm sure that this is an announcement that many will be pretty excited about. Now, it is not just individuals and businesses who are figuring out how to use artificial intelligence. The Pennsylvania state government has announced that it will prepare to start using AI across its operations as well. Speaking at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, Governor Josh Shapiro said Wednesday that his administration will be convening an AI governing board, publishing principles on the use of AI, and developing training programs for state employees. His argument is basically that this is going to be something significant for Pennsylvanians, and so the government needs to be able to understand it and adapt to it so that they can make sure that they can help their citizens do the same. As Shapiro put it, we don't want to let AI happen to us. We want to be a part of helping develop AI for the betterment of our citizens. Now, this is definitely part of a trend of increased attention being paid to AI at the state government level. Of course, earlier this month, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order to study the development of AI. And beyond that, lawmakers in at least 25 different states have introduced bills that address some aspect of artificial intelligence. All of which certainly lends credence to recent comments from Ray Dalio that AI will greatly disrupt our lives within a year. Speaking at Fast Company's Innovation Festival this week, the Bridgewater founder turned public thought leader for boomers, Ray Dalio, said that AI will soon be a, quote, great disruptor for all of our lives. All these changes, he said, are going to happen in the next 5 years. And when I say that, I don't mean 5 years from now. I mean that you're going to see changes next year, the next year, even bigger changes. It's all going to change very fast. Now, of course, while Dalio isn't an AI expert or anything like that, he is a public intellectual of significant repute, especially for that boomer generation that I just mentioned, and so I think there is significance that he is also talking about these issues as well. Speaking of talking about these issues, AI continues to get high billing in Congress and the Senate. Earlier this week, it was the Senate Intelligence Committee's turn to hold a hearing relating to AI. Invited witnesses included Dr. Benjamin Jensen, senior fellow at CSIS and professor at the Marine Corps University School of Advanced Warfighting, Dr. Jeffrey Ding, assistant professor of political science at George Washington University, and Dr. Jan LeCun, who is a Turing Award winner and the chief AI scientist at Meta. Now, one of the things that makes Jan different than some of his peers, particularly his other 2018 Turing Award-winning fellows, Jeffrey Hinton and Yoshua Bengio, is that to the extent that they are scared about the AI safety future, Jan has very strong disagreements with their points of view. Much of that came out in Jan's opening statement, where he took extensive time to talk about how important open source really is. In that statement, he said, "At Meta, we believe it is better if AI is developed openly rather than behind closed doors by a handful of companies. Generally speaking, companies should collaborate across industry, academia, government, and civil society to help ensure that such technologies are developed responsibly and with openness to minimize the potential risks and maximize the potential benefits." Jan also argues that open sourcing is a key geostrategic advantage for the United States. In that opening statement again, he said, "By open sourcing current AI tools, we can develop and improve the foundational models faster than others, including potential adversaries will be able to access and build on those models. With US leadership, we can cultivate this powerful technology based on our values, rather than relinquishing it to our adversaries. Leading the AI research and development efforts puts us in a strong position to enhance the safety of our systems and to warn about potential risks." Now, at the same time this was going on, people were discussing recent comments from Mustafa Suleyman, the CEO of Inflection AI and the former co-founder of Google DeepMind, about why open source could be problematic. These sides are quickly hardening in one of the most important conversations in artificial intelligence. Andrew Critch retweeted Jan's opening statement and said, "If we dismiss his points here, we risk building some kind of authoritarian AI industrial complex in the name of safety. Extinction from AI is a real potentiality, but so is the permanent loss of democracy. Both are bad, and all sides of this discussion need to acknowledge each other to expand our set of options for striking a balance. If AI is developed, used, and regulated responsibly, it can greatly expand the Pareto frontier of possibilities for humanity's future. And only through civil discourse like this can we achieve that." Anyways, that is, of course, a much longer conversation than we can have at the brief, but that is going to wrap us for today. Lots and lots going on, so stay tuned throughout the week for more, and I'll be back soon with the main AI breakdown.